This is Next Radio.
With Broadcast Bionics. Innovative solutions for creative people.
I'm not sure about the really fascinating bit. It's research and coffee soon. It's going to be okay. So if you all get out your devices, hopefully, and get a browser open and get nextradio.io/quiz. I'm going to ask you a few questions, and you can put the answers in directly. And it's designed to go wrong, so Matt at some point will work out what the answer is and give me them before the end of the session. So I'll just fill for a moment. So my day job is running Jazz FM. But about 30 years ago, I started a research company called Arendt. And I found myself struggling to find the information that we needed to do what we do in running radio stations. And so we set up Audiomonitor. And hopefully by going through some of the things today, you'll understand why we did it. So are you all there? Yep. So I'm just going to ask you 5 questions, and you can get the answers in, and we'll talk about them at the end. So what percentage of the UK stream music? Just on the slider, get a percentage, hit done. So the next question is, who is the biggest weekly reach? And I mean that in sort of radio percentage terms. Capital FM, Spotify, or YouTube. And that's audio only. So we've done something to make sure that we can look at YouTube without just looking at people looking at film clips. What percentage of Radio 1 listeners use Spotify? It's not paid for, just use it generally. Somebody from Radio 1 will probably tell us the real answer in a moment. What percentage of KISS FM listeners pay for a music streaming subscription? And finally, and this has nothing to do with the fact that I run Jazz, which of these stations has the highest proportion of listening on a mobile phone? Jazz FM, KISS FM, or Heart? Okay, hopefully we'll come back to your answers on that. So this is about a new bit of research called Audiomonitor, and it was created to answer some of the questions like the questions we've just gone through. And it's targeted at radio stations, labels, publishers, and platforms. And it's about having a single source bit of data where you can actually look at how all this is related. And it's not about doing a new radar or anything like that. It's about being able to look at the interrelationships. And it's a joint venture between my old company, Arendt, and AudienceNet. And AudienceNet are sort of the equivalent of Arendt in the music industry. They, for 30 years, have been looking at the same sort of things we've looked at radio across, but for all music companies. So this is about understanding the interrelationships between everything that goes in one's ear, apart from cleaning it and stuff like that. So it's broadcast radio, online platforms, streaming services, digital downloads, and physical formats. We include listening to your own music, whether that's on a CD or downloaded music. I'm not going to go through the whole methodology other than to say it is a survey. It's not real data. It's 3,000. It's a 3,000 survey conducted quarterly, and it's designed to be totally democratic. It's not for any particular industry. It's not designed to make a point for one sector against another, the information is completely shared in a neutral way amongst everybody with all of the warnings about sample sizes in there, but it's up to the users to work out what they're going to do about all of that. This is about the interrelationships. It's trying to understand the scale of everything that's going on, and so you can actually work out where people are listening, what they're listening to, what sort of music they like, and be able to cross-reference that with social media use and brands. We've added a whole lot of consumer brands on there, so one can look at brand advertising awareness, but also advocacy. Would you recommend the brand to others? So you can, in theory, be able to look at the difference between people who listen to a radio brand, music stream, and recommend various advertising brands to get some idea how all these things are linked. It's also got a whole load of information about hobbies, interests, looking at early adopters, so you can actually build groups and work out what they're doing. It's designed so you can actually buy questions on it. So like an omnibus, you can actually add your own questions on it and then cross-relate that back. And also we're building up user groups so it can be used for going back and talking to groups of people that are defined however you want to define them. The trouble is with more data is that we've all got vast amounts of data, and dumping a whole load of tables on people's desks at the moment is a very difficult thing to do. So the other side of this project has been to create a data dashboard. So you can actually get the data, access to the data immediately on a web dashboard. And I'm going to show you two screenshots from that. So this is a tree map based on all audio. And as you can see, it's got all radio brands on there and lots of music brands. If you look right at the top, if you hit the broadcast radio tab, the data set you'd be looking at would be the same as Radar. This one is all audio. You could just go and have a look at music streaming services. And so the idea eventually here is to be able to select your own data set and be able to say that I'm interested in Radio 1, XFM, Spotify, and just that, and then just have a look at that as a market. And you can hover over any of these boxes and you get the percent or whatever it's relating to. And everything is presented really is focused on share or reach. And you make your own decision of where you want to go with that. We're still playing with how the whole thing's presented, but this is an example for heart, I think, and shows all of the detail we picked up, but average daily listening time of 1 hour, 5 minutes. And so if you multiply that times 7, you get to roughly the same number you get in Radar. And Radar is the only known in this area, so we spent quite a lot of time looking at the results against Radar. So this, interesting. It's dropped off all the stations at the bottom. That has got all the stations. But if you just look at the two lines, our Audiomonitor is the smoother line, and Radar is the light blue line. And we have a very strong statistical correlation between the two. There are differences. There'll always be differences. Interesting on here, we seem to perform better for rock stations. So it's quite good for Planet Rock, Kerrang, and Absolute, and not particularly good for speech stations. Radio 4 and Radio 5 are below Radar. But as I said, it's not about trying to replicate that. It's about being able to look broadly between different groups and get answers out of it. If you look at the share of ear, which is hours, if you looked at Radar, that's the 74% here. So we're essentially saying that 24% of people's time is spent on non-broadcast radio. You can also see commercial is very slightly bigger than the BBC, and that's a result of what I just told you. We overperformed on some services and underperformed on speech. Music streaming, 10%. Physical, that means using CDs, 4%. And you can look at all of this by any different group. the first survey we did, which is in May, first full survey, these organisations joined us, and they're all looking at the data now and working out exactly how they're going to use it and whether they're going to be part of this on a quarterly basis all the way through. It's a very quick run through of the research. Be happy to talk about it, but let's just, hopefully, Matt has worked this out. So, what percentage of the UK stream music? 36%. So do you think you guys come in higher or lower? Lower, 30%. So the answer is 36% for adults 15 plus, with 15 to 19s at 84%, 25 to 34s at 60%. They're very, very big numbers and growing rapidly. Who's the biggest weekly reach? You all, yeah. But so out of kilter with reality, your numbers, but yeah. So the answer is YouTube, 16%. This is audio only. That's why you went so high, because you all said the average of your answer was 60%. And Capital got 25%, and Spotify 15%. In fact, Capital are 13 and 12. Really high here as well. It's 25%, and your average was 40%. 40% is the number for 6 music, and 20% for heart. And no, it's not finally, sorry. What percentage of KISS FM listeners pay for music streaming subscription? 14%, and you came in at 31%. And this compares with 5% for all adults, by the way. And that's doubled in the last 12 months. And finally, I think you can guess the answer to this one. It's my opportunity to get my logo up on screen. Jazz FM, 13%. KISS at 10, Heart at 4. When you really think about that, it's not that surprising, because we don't have an FM transmitter. And so we're likely to have a much higher number. And so that puts into reality. Yeah. Thanks very much. Thank
you. This is Next Radio.
With Broadcast Bionics. Innovative solutions for creative people.